Argentina, the second largest country in South America, a captivating land of tango and adventure. And of breathtaking nature. Buenos Aires, the capital of Argentina, is said to be the most European city in South America, with buildings that are reminiscent of bygone times. The mighty Plaza De Mayo is the historic heart of the city, with the presidential palace Casa Rosada and the Catedral Metropolitana. The Catholic religion has always been highly influential here, and until 1994 the president had to be of the Catholic faith. When this area first became settled, this large square was the center of a major settlement that was founded in 1580 by Juan de Garay under difficult circumstances. On the 25th of May 1810, a junta expelled the Spanish viceroy. And even today, the country's last military dictatorship is remembered with a degree of pain. The San Telmo district is the old soul of the city, where today there is hustle and bustle and musicians perform their skills. Goods were once transported by wagon to the Plaza Mayor. This, the city's most popular district, acts as a magnet for one and all. Here, the Buenos Aires of old is still very much alive. Again and again, dancing couples perform their sensuous tangos in the smallest of spaces. They're always rewarded by much enthusiastic applause. The high-tech Florales generica tulip is the city's most recent landmark. And the La Boca district, the old harbor area, lies at the mouth of the Riachuelo in the Rio de la Plata. Today, tango is performed in each corner of the city, and in the 19th century, poor immigrants from Italy and Spain settled here. This explains the fiery temperament and deep melancholy that is expressed by the dancers, and is evident with each flick of the leg. In what was once the red light district, with its whorehouses of colourful corrugated iron taken from numerous shipwrecks, the tango was born. The Palermo district contains several of the city's parks, such as the zoological gardens and its unmistakable odour. The botanical garden is also situated in Palermo Park. Garden architect Carlos Teis planted around 5,000 different kinds of bush and tree here. He had a number of greenhouses built, and constructed both marble and bronze statues. The Japanese garden is one of the most popular natural oases in Buenos Aires, created by Japanese garden architects according to strict tradition. And the Museo José Hernández is one of more than 70 museums in this city of culture. Recoleta and its Basilica de la Pilar has always been inhabited by the city's elite. Next to the basilica is the Recoleta Cemetery, a city of death. Here, generations of Argentina's upper classes are buried. 7,000 mausoleums cover 4 hectares of land. This is the final resting place for patriarchs, presidents, poets, and even the world-famous political figure, Evita. memorials that highlight the transient nature of life and the permanence of eternity. Puerto Madero is the name of the former dock area. The once shabby harbour has now become a popular attraction, and two excellent museum ships lie at anchor and are open to the public. The Sarmiento frigate was the flagship of the Argentinian Navy at the beginning of the 20th century, and its officers had a fine sense of dress. On board, attention to detail is considered to be essential. Puerto Madero, with its skyline of glass and steel, awaits the arrival of evening. It is then that the city reawakes, it vibrates, dances and enjoys tango, the true pulse of the city, erotic, melancholic and full of life. A dramatic adventure. The comfortable train journey from the city's Retiro station to the 30-kilometer distant Rio Paraná Delta takes less than an hour. From the Bartolomé Mitre station, the Tren de la Costa travels to Tigre. Opposite the terminus, boats are available to take travelers to one of the region's most beautiful destinations. Boats travel along the canals. The big wheel in the suburb of Tigre comes into view, and next we pass the harbour. The Delta is a 2,600 square kilometre group of green islands, crossed by numerous rivers and canals. Along the shoreline, the wealthy have their summer residences, and in between there are various hotels and summer houses. Subtropical trees and plants grow here and make the Delta a natural paradise that is situated outside the city gates, a swampy world of fascinating islands. Passengers disembark from the boats in the center of town. This pleasant town is often referred to as the Venetian suburb. The inhabitants of Buenos Aires like to visit this tranquil leisure area close to their fine metropolis. And more people are moving here. This attractive settlement is also known as the California of the South, with green sports facilities and avenues of small houses. Presidente Bartolomé Mitre surveys the town, and palm trees and fountains make it even more attractive, far removed from the pampas. From Tigre Harbour, boats travel to the Isla Martin Garcia, that is only 3.5 kilometers from the Uruguayan mainland. The canals are located around 37 kilometers from the Argentinian mainland. The wetlands are constantly changing. The boat stops. The Bateria Cuartel Military Museum is a reminder of a sad chapter of recent history. This remote island was once a meeting place for the political opponents of the military dictatorship that was in power until 1983. From 1955, the military attempted to take power, often with ruthless brutality. Dense vegetation grows around the military memorial, and around 200 species of bird live here. However, the marsh deer are threatened by extinction. Today, it is nature that pervades the scene. This Argentinian island was where the first Europeans set foot in 1516, although Uruguay also lays claim to this historic event. This small cemetery is a symbol of conciliation, a tranquil memorial to what has been. A peace that shall never be disturbed, an eternal place of sanctuary. Another excursion travels to a traditional attraction, an estancia, a feudal residence of the beef barons who once settled on the endless plains of the pampas. They built their farmhouses according to the rustic designs of the nobility. It was the job of the gauchos to travel the land on horseback, to see to the welfare of both cattle and sheep, which often numbered as many as 10,000 sheep, cattle and horses. The aristocratic way of life on the cattle farms had its own culture and dances, and its music adapted to the loneliness and vastness of the pampas. Cato, Zamba, Escondio and Xotis developed into authentic art forms. When visiting an estancia, a gaucho show is a must. Cowboys live with their horses, a fact made obvious by way of acrobatic performances. The life of the gauchos has always been hard. They often have to remain with their herds for many days and sleep under the stars. Cattle and sheep breeding made Argentina prosper. However, due to the declining values of both meat and wool, the region's farmers have sought an alternative source of income: tourism. For almost 200 years, from 1588 to 1767, the padres of the Jesuit order worked in South America. They founded fortified missionary settlements for the native Indians, such as the San Ignacio Mini. They regarded the primeval inhabitants as their responsibility. The old settlement of Loreto has been overgrown by jungle. Roots gradually destroy the remains of the walls, but some have managed to survive. Although the Jesuits educated the Indians, they didn't want them to organize their own lives or become independent of them. San Ignacio Mini is the region's most well-maintained settlement. Thousands of native people lived here, in constant fear of white slave traders. For centuries, the sandstone and basalt buildings lay hidden beneath the dense vegetation, until they were eventually rediscovered. Towns in the jungle, Christian enclaves within a world without mercy. In recent times, several of the small buildings have been transformed into museums that help to provide an insight into the high standard of culture that was developed here. When the Jesuits were forced to flee by King Carlos in 1840, the settlements were abandoned and fell into decay. The Iguazu waterfalls are one of the most impressive natural wonders on our planet, as well as providing a natural border between Argentina and Brazil, unique in the South American continent. From a wide expanse of nearly 3 kilometers, the water plunges down into the depths below, creating a thunderous roar amid the tropical scenery. Up to 80 meters above sea level, around 270 waterfalls form prior to reuniting in a pool below. In 1541, the Spaniard Alvar Núñez de Vaca was the first European to discover the waterfalls. But for him, they were more of a barrier than a magnificent spectacle. In the following 2 centuries, the Jesuits explored this area and attempted to educate the native inhabitants. However, in 1767, they were banished. It has been estimated that during the rainy season, 14,000 cubic meters of water a second pass over the falls. Sunlight shines out in the spray of the water and creates an array of wonderful rainbows, a constant natural spectacle. The locality is well organized, and each year millions of visitors make their way to the waterfalls along several wooden pathways. Roaring curtains of water, thunderous noise, glittering spray. All this is created by the mighty natural wonder of the Iguazu waterfalls. Close by, man has tamed the might of nature. After 22 kilometers, the Rio Iguazu flows into the Rio Paraná, the 3rd largest major river in South America. Here on the border between Brazil and Paraguay, one of the largest hydroelectric power plants on Earth was built, an architectural masterpiece. The Itaipu Dam, for which 20,000 Guarani Indians were relocated. Planning was begun in the 1960s, and following long and problematical construction, this mega-huge plant was inaugurated in 1984. Tall tubes lead the water to the turbines, and each year 18 generators produce about 75 billion kilowatt hours of electricity. The Itaipu Dam is a remarkable architectural wonder of the 20th century. Salta is capital of the province of the same name in the northwest of Argentina. With around 460,000 inhabitants, it's now the country's 8th largest city. With Cerro San Bernardo Mountain just outside the city. And the Gloria del Norte Cathedral in the Plaza de Julio. La Linda, the beautiful one, is the capital of the province of the same name. Perhaps due to the well-maintained buildings of colonial times, such as the Cabildo. Salta was founded in 1852 by Hernando de Lerma, and the legendary general Martín Miguel de Güemes was one of the city's most famous citizens. The San Francisco Church is a splendid landmark that is a reminder of the Franciscan order that has been here for several centuries. Nearby is the plainer San Bernardo Monastery. Early in the morning at Salta Station, we begin a fascinating train journey on the Tren A Las Nubes, the train into the clouds. The train will climb to more than 3,000 meters above sea level on one of the highest railroads in the world. A true adventure. Prior to tourism, the line from Salta to the Argentine highlands was used by cargo trains. Today, the train has seating for 520 passengers. For those who are not fazed by the high altitude and sheer drops, the train's kitchen caters for the most hearty appetites. The landscape passes by whilst passengers take in the atmosphere. The carriages once transported copper, saltpeter and borax from the mines in the highlands. Suddenly, the train comes to a halt. It's time for the engine to be changed, as on the final part of the journey, the train can't be pulled, but instead has to be pushed. Now on to our final destination. The Viaducto La Polvorilla, an architectural gem. At an altitude of 4,280 meters above sea level, we make a short stop, and then the return journey begins. Next to stop is San Antonio de las Cobras. And the long journey to Salta continues, 2,600 meters lower than we are now. The sun sets, and late in the evening, the Tren A Las Nubes arrives in the station. Our marvelous journey into the clouds finishes here. Now we begin our next adventure. A journey through the land of the Incas. Few other South American tribes are as fascinating as this old and legendary culture. The 150-kilometer journey from Salta to Cachi has much diverse scenery, including views of candelabra cacti, before the arrival of the Spanish, Cachi was founded by the Diaguitas tribe, who developed terraced agriculture. We continue our journey through the land of the Incas, along a gravel road and into the mountains. Several of the roads here travel along the same transport routes as those of the Incas. We visit the highest vine-growing estate in the world, the Bodega Colome. This fertile landscape was cultivated by the Indios long before the foundation of the vineyards. The vineyards range from between 2,200 and 3,000 meters above sea level. We continue the journey on a dusty road. We reach Molinos, the capital of the departamento of the same name, situated 2,000 meters above sea level, a sleepy village with a population of 2,500. Molinos has an important site, an old colonial church that was built in 1659 and became famous as it contains a mummy. We cross the Rio Cachalco, that in summer is more of a trickle than a river, and continue our journey through the land of the Incas. A special highlight of this section is the famous Quebrada de las Flechas, Arrow Canyon. The Indians once lived close to the canyon. Only a number of ruins remain of the former Quilmes fortress that accommodated around 2,500 people. Alas, the Spanish conquered the fortress, destroyed the harvest, and forced the Indians to flee. Finally, we reach Cafayate. This picturesque town, meaning in the language of the Cacano Indios, where the sun is buried, was founded in 1840. In addition to viniculture, many arts and crafts are produced here. From Cafayate, we continue our journey on Route 68. An untouched landscape glimmers in the distance, the reddish rocks of the Quebrada de las Conchas, the Shell Canyon. It's here that our journey through the land of the Incas comes to an end. From the north and now to the south of the country, to El Calafate in the heart of Patagonia. With around 12,000 inhabitants, it's easy to get around this small town, which was founded in 1927. Local traders and souvenir shops dominate the town. The inhabitants of El Calafate have fully adapted to the requirements of the tourist industry, and the region's new airport has added to that success. This is the starting point for various trips into one of the most fascinating landscapes on Earth. The Los Glaciares National Park. A mixture of lakes, glaciers, mountains, and untouched wilderness. In spite of the harsh climate, the local vegetation captivates due to its diversity. Here, numerous small lakes are surrounded by green meadows, and countless waterfowl live here. There are diligent flamingos, and horses and sheep pasture freely. In the distance, a tract of water appears, peacefully nestling amid the landscape, and flanked by snow-covered mountains. The best way to discover this huge lake is by boat. The Lago Argentino, that measures around 1,500 square kilometers, is located in the Los Glaciares National Park. Several mountain rivers, as well as the ice of various glaciers, flow into the lake. Icebergs are one of the most popular attractions of the boat excursions. The huge floating icebergs originate from nearby glaciers such as the glaciers Speccazzini and Uppsala. The elements have created wonderful ice formations here. The Uppsala Glacier at the northwestern edge of the lake is the biggest in South America, but the smaller Glacier Speccazzini that is situated further south is also a spectacular sight. It derived its name from an important scientist, former Italian-Argentinian botanist Carlos Luis Speccazzini. Despite its smaller size, this glacier provides a remarkable insight into this world of eternal ice in the heart of the Los Glaciares National Park. The Perito Moreno Glacier was created due to the merging of several large ice flows. Its tongue flows slowly into a southerly tributary of the Lago Argentino. The contrast to the local flora and fauna with its lifeless masses of ice is quite striking. It is in the warm months of summer that the largest sections of ice break off from the glaciers. A magnificent natural spectacle. In contrast to most of the world's glaciers that are now diminishing in size, this one continues to expand. Each day, the ice moves closer to the lake by around a meter. The journey from El Calafate in the north to El Chalten along the Lago Argentino is, for the most part of the journey, uneventful. This village that is situated close to the border with Chile originated in 1985. In winter, only around 100 people live here. But in summer, the village comes to life. Visitors from all over the world are accommodated in the small inns and restaurants of the village before commencing their various journeys into the wilderness. From El Chalten, our route travels through the Los Glaciares National Park into the Valle de las Vueltas and to the Lago Desierto. The mighty summits of the Fitzroy Mountains and waterfalls are constant companions on the route through the unspoiled valley. Patagonia's exotic species of animals and plants are the greatest treasure of this remote landscape that lies between the eternal ice of the glaciers. The primeval beauty of the Argentinian south, with the fascinating interplay of barren landscapes and living nature, has a unique charm. Next, we reach another of the national park's lakes, the Lago Desierto, that is not only famous due to its beautiful location. This 530 square kilometre lake was once an explosive political focal point, as it lies on the border between Chile and Argentina. However, the dispute was settled and peace has returned once more to this enchanting mountain world. The majestic summit of the Fitzroy dominates everything. The best starting point for the journey up the 3,400-metre high granite mountains is from El Chalten. In the lower areas beyond the village, the vegetation is dense and varied, and a wonderful sight after the arduous walk. From October until March, the thermometer climbs to an average temperature of 11 degrees Celsius. It rarely rises above this. Suddenly, it appears to be very close. The impressive Fitzroy Mountain in all its splendor. Here, the weather is very changeable. During a period of only a few hours, it's possible to experience all 4 seasons of the year. But as suddenly as it becomes dark, the sky brightens up once again. Close to El Chalten is the Lago Viedma. The journey to the Viedma Glacier begins on board ship. As with the Lago Argentino, the Lago Viedma is a glacial lake, 80 kilometers long and 15 kilometers wide. It is Argentina's second largest lake. The captain steers the boat to the glacier with much skill. As soon as the boat passes by the huge glacial wall, some of the features of the ice giant become obvious. For thousands of years, the forces of erosion have cut several large caves into the ice. The stones that the glacier took with it, from tiny pebbles to several tons of heavy rock, left traces below ground. The glaciers of the Los Glaciares National Park really do form the landscape here. Even the rocks have had to make way for the untamed power of the ice masses that have flowed towards the lake. So, over time, many fascinating forms in the rock have been created. In the south of Chile, close to the border with Argentina, is yet another fascinating mountain landscape, the Torres del Paine National Park in Patagonia. The excursion to the southernmost tip of Argentina is well worth crossing the border twice for. Its varied landscape has made the 72,000 square kilometre park a unique habitat, a pure and unspoiled world. The glacier in the northern section of the Lago Grey has left visible traces not only on the land, but also in the water in the form of huge ice floes. Here, the boat trip becomes an adventure. During the last ice age, a thick layer of ice covered the whole of Patagonia. Only the highest summits were visible above the ice. Around the Lago del Toro, wild horses graze. And the varied plant kingdom, with its colourful blossoms, forms a charming contrast to the ice of the glaciers. The gleam of the evening sun lights this miracle of creation. Wind, water, ice and rock, each has formed this landscape over millions of years and created scenery that is totally unique. The unpredictable weather here, that can change from sunshine to hailstorm and from hot to cold in just a few minutes, presents a major challenge to walkers. The path to the Salto Grande waterfall travels through a paradise-like flower garden. The plants here are almost as famous as the mountains. In spring and early summer, the landscape is full of splendid blossom that is blown by strong winds. The transformation between two different landscapes, the Argentinian pampas and the Magellan forests, is plain to see in the Torres del Paine National Park. With impressive mountain scenery as its background, the Salto Grande plunges down with a thunderous roar in several cascades into Lake Pejoy below. A splendid natural spectacle that highlights the untamed might of water. On the banks of Lago Pejoy is a wonderful, magical forest, with gnarled trees that must withstand the powerful winds of this region. Close by is an extraordinary rock wall. Large steps have been cut into the rock, but they were not created by man. They were created by the force of nature. Guanacos, that can be seen in many sections of the park, prefer open grassland. They're also to be found in the higher regions. They live in families that usually comprise up to 15 members. Further north of Lago Pejoy, surrounded by steep rocky slopes, is yet another picturesque lake, Lago Nordenskjöld. The marvelous wilderness provides wildlife with a perfect habitat, free from threat. The national park captivates with its natural, scenic landscape and its harmony of rock, ice, and water. Here, the natural world of Patagonia is, despite slight encroachment by man, as pure and untouched as it was thousands of years ago. In the southernmost region of the South American continent, a scenic, almost paradise-like wilderness has remained. Truly one of the most wonderful mountain regions on Earth, the Torres del Paine National Park. We visit the Argentine section of Fireland and arrive at Ushuaia, the southernmost town in the world, and the gateway to Antarctica. It's a small town that has experienced a great boom in recent years. Due to it being a tax haven, it has brought in much industry. Including a tourist centre, because from Fireland, the islands are readily accessible, as are trips available to Antarctica. The main thoroughfare is a shopping street with lively traffic, much noise, and a few hotels. Typical of a main provincial town. It's difficult to believe that not long ago, nothing but the wooden huts of Anglican missionaries stood here, those who introduced Christianity to the Fireland Indians in 1869. Both small and, more recently, large buildings form a kind of patchwork, colourful wooden houses, pretty colonial structures, shanties, and a number of large concrete buildings. Hardened criminals were once forced to build their own prison here. Sheltered by a bay and harbour, the town is a combination of mountain village and fjord settlement. A trip to Harberton Farm is a popular attraction. The first stop in Terra Mayor leads to a breeding station of Siberian Huskies. The road is in quite good condition. It travels through swampland and past small lakes. In a remote bay, we encounter conch collectors who seem to be having some success. The trees up high are shaken by the wind and look like flags. Flags waving in the wind. The Beagle Canal accompanies us to the end of the road, Harberton Farm. Around 8 kilometers outside Ushuaia is a small timber-built train station. It's another popular tourist attraction. From here, a narrow-gauge railway leads to the Tierra del Fuego National Park. This is a must for every tourist. As the train departs, the small engine steams and toots and slowly rolls out of the station. Our short journey begins. The small train moves slowly through the plain landscape, steadily winding its way along. After about 45 minutes, we arrive at the terminus. Now we are among pure nature, at the end of the world. The Tierra del Fuego National Park was founded in 1960 and is very accessible, with roads, campsites, and numerous resting places. From time to time, the small train comes into view, winding and snorting through the natural landscape. Wild white horses rest amid the idyllic landscape. And from the nearby mountains, the Rio Pipo flows down in wild cascades. Several wooden pathways make it easy to walk to the sea. This is the furthermost tip of the South American mainland. Americana ends here. The journey along the Beagle Canal is a particularly worthwhile experience. In Port Ushuaia, boats begin an excursion into a fascinating natural landscape. From amid the water rises a mighty rock, the Isla de los Pajaros and los Lobos. The ice-cold water on the border of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans provides sufficient food for the numerous wildlife in this region. approaches our main destination, Penguin Island, where this wonderful creature lives safe and secure. Tranquil nature and remoteness dominate this unique landscape. This, the southernmost tip of planet Earth that is not covered by eternal ice. Our journey comes to an end. From north to south, through cities and pampas to glaciers and mountains, Argentina, a dream destination come true.